I want to talk about one line in Rut Rabbah. In source number 1, Amar Rabbi Zira, Megillah zo ein ba lo tum'a v'lo tahara v'lo isur v'lo heter v'lama nichteva l'lamedcha kama schar tov l'gonlei chasadim. Rabbi Zira says this Megillat Rut, it doesn't have anything about purity and impurity. It doesn't have anything about what's permitted, what's forbidden. What's the point of this Megillah? To teach you the reward that people who perform chesed, we'll translate it as loving kindness, shorten it to kindness, just for time purposes. The whole point of the Megillah is to teach you that people who do good things get rewarded. And in fact, that is something that when you read Megillat Rut, you see, right? Rut basically leaves her hometown, everything she's known, to follow her mother-in-law, who's going to be destitute. She goes, she picks up the gleanings in the field, and at the end of the day, she's rewarded with a wonderful husband and being the mother of Malchut of David HaMelech. So it's true. That's one of the points of Megillat Rut. But it's not clear that that's the point. And in fact, there are a whole bunch of other sources that attempt to answer the question, what's the point of Megillat Rut? Which, by the way, is not a question we ask about most Sifrei Tanakh. Does anybody say, what's the point of Vayikra? Or even, what's the point of Yechezkel? No, we know what the point is. Megillat Rut, all of 86 psukim, I think, 83, something in the 80s, not very long, but everyone wants to know, what's the point? In the Zohar Chadash, Rabbi Yossi is quoted as saying, the whole point is just to show the backstory of David HaMelech. That's the only reason this Megillah was written, and to show you about the personality of Rut, who was his foremother. Okay, totally different answer to that question. Dr. Yael Ziegler, in her amazing work on Rut, which also may have set a record for most pages on shortest book in Tanakh. I remember I bought the book, it's 300-something pages, thinking, wow, does she really have that much to say on Megillat Rut? The answer is yes. Nobody knows anything about Rut until you sit down and really, really learn it. You really can read 300 pages on Megillat Rut. And her way of bringing these two ideas together was to say, in source number 3, the marriage of Rut and Boaz represents an attempt to design a line of kingship where altruistic chesed is the underlying principle, thereby eliminating corruption and leading Israel to the fulfillment of its glorious goals. Meaning, chesed plus malchut, they're supposed to go together, and that's what Rut is supposed to represent. And that's one of the reasons, probably, that we read Megillat Rut on Shavuot. It was the birthday or death day, or both, of David HaMelech. And that's one of the reasons given for why we read it. The Abu Draham, though, gives 2 additional reasons for why we read Megillat Rut on Shavuot, which is obviously why we're speaking about it tonight. In source number 4, the Abu Draham says 2 important things. The first one, we read Megillat Rut on Shavuot because it took place around the time of year that Shavuot takes place. It involves the harvesting of the grains, which is exactly the period that we're in right now, right? The Korban Omer brought on Pesach is the beginning of the barley harvest. The Shtei HaLechem brought on Shavuot is the wheat harvest. So right now is exactly when Rut would have been out in the fields of Beit Lechem, collecting grains as they were being harvested. That's reason number 1, and super convincing, makes a ton of sense. Let's look at reason number 2, in source number 4 in the Abu Draham. Second to last word on the first line. V'od ta'am acher. Another reason why we read Rut on Shavuot. Lefi she'avotenu lo kiblu et haTorah v'lo nichnesu lebrit ela b'mila u'tvila v'hartzat damim k't'ita b'parak hachodis. When the Jews accepted the Torah on Shavuot and entered the covenant with God, the Abu Draham said they did it like somebody who converts to Judaism, with mila, tvila, and sprinkling of blood. V'Rut gam hi nitgaira shene'emar ki el asher telchi elech v'gomer. Okay, and Rut is a convert, and all of the Jews, when we got the Torah, we converted into Judaism. So too Rut, and she represents that. And we're in fact going to see in the next 7 minutes that we learn a lot about the halachot of conversion from the story of Rut. want to talk about Rabbi Zera, right? That first source where Rabbi Zera says there's no halacha in Megillat Rut. No purity, impurity, no forbidden, no permitted. I read this, and I will be honest, I was just like, I don't know, I think he's wrong. Because if you read Megillat Rut, and then you go out to the wide world of halacha, in every area of halacha, you find the rabbis quoting Megillat Rut, and in places that are completely unexpected. Part 2 of the source sheet, which the sources, we're not going to read all of them inside, what I've called disproving Rabbi Zera. I went through and found so many places where Megillat Rut is in fact the source of so many varied areas of halacha. Source number 5 from Masechet Ketubot asks, Minayin lebircha chatanim ba'asara? How do you know that Sheva brachot at a wedding requires a minyan? Shenemar vayikach asara anashim miziknei ha'ir vayomer shvu po. From Boaz, who collected 10 men so that they could witness the marriage of Ruth and Boaz. We'll skip to the next one. The Gemara in Yerushalmi on that same topic in Ketubot says it's not just Berchat Chatanim that requires 10 people that we learn from that pasuk from Ruth and from Boaz. We also learned that we say Sheva Brachot even if the people getting married are a widow and widower, which was up for some halachic debate. Rabbi Alexandri says we learn from this story that a person who is lower in stature can't sit down in a public gathering until the greater people have sat down. Rabbi Pinchas and Rabbi Eliezer also learned other halachic concepts from this one pasuk of Boaz saying, come and sit down, okay? We've covered a topic in marriage, which is a classic Isser v'Heter. We've covered Sanhedrin halachot, okay? Let's move on. There's more. Okay. Here's a good one. Okay, source number 7 starts at the bottom of page 1. A Gemara in Makot. Gemara in Makot that says, I really like this one, we'll read it inside. Gufa Amar Rabbi Yoshua ben Levi. Rabbi Yoshua ben Levi said, Shlosha dvarim asu beitin shel mata, v'hiskimu beitin shel mala al yadam. There were 3 halachic innovations made by Batei Din or people in this world, and God agreed. What are they? Elohim, Mikra Megillah, V'Shelat Shalom B'Shem, V'Hava'at Maaser. Okay, reading of the Megillah on Purim, greeting people with the name of God, and certain aspects of bringing Maaser, which we're not going to go into. V'Shelat Shalom, where do we learn that there is a halacha that one is supposed to and also permitted to use God's name when greeting people? Dichtiv, V'hinei Boaz Bami Beit Lechem, Vayomer L'Kotzrim Hashem Imachem. We learn it from Boaz, who when he meets his farmhands, says to them, Hashem imachem. And the pasuk continues, they say, Hashem is with you, man of valor. My ve'omer, why do we need to see the response? L'chitema Boaz hu da'avid midate. We might have thought that Boaz sort of invented this idea of using the Shem Hashem to greet people. And maybe God didn't think that was a great idea. No, we see from this additional pasuk that God agreed that his name should be used in greeting people. It's a minhag that doesn't seem to have taken off. But we learn from Boaz, this halacha, you can use the Shem Hashem when you greet people. Okay, one more halacha. Another totally unrelated to Megillat Rut area of halacha. If you're learning about halachic kinyanim, different methods that you can use to acquire something in halacha, one of the most interesting is called kinyan chalipin. Chalipin is when one item is exchanged sort of ceremonially for the other. It doesn't have to do with the value. One thing is handed off to the other. And there is a debate whether the item being transferred is given from the seller to the buyer or the buyer to the seller. And the Gemara in Bava Metzia claims that the source for this whole thing comes from the pasuk in Megillat Rut that a shoe was used to transfer the ability to redeem the land from Ploni Almoni, the original Goel, to Boaz. I apologize that I'm just sort of throwing all these things out there. But after all of this, have I convinced you? Megillat Rut is full of halacha, right? And the rabbis in the Gemara can't help but continue to quote it in all of these sort of unrelated contexts. So I read this and I thought, I just don't really get Rabbi Zera, right? I'm not sure why he's so passionate about saying there's no halacha in this Megillah that seems to me to be chock full of halacha. And the best example, the one that is actually related to the story of Megillat Rut, is the story of Rut's conversion. The Gemara in Masechet Yevamot and the Midrash in Rut Rabbah both assume that the conversation between Rut and Naomi on their way back to Israel represents not just a conversation between a mother-in-law and a daughter. It's not just Rut saying, I commit to being, with you and staying close to you. The Gemara in Yevamot assumes that it was actually a technical halachic conversation and conversion. If you look at source number 9, the Gemara says, Amar Mar, Ger shebal hitgayer, omrim lo mara ita shebata litgayer. Someone wants to convert, you say, why do you want to convert? Modi'im oto miktsat mitzvot halot, miktsat mitzvot hamurot. And we teach them some small number of halachot, some of the more intense ones, some of the lighter ones. What those might be, that's a really good question. Umodi'im oto avon leket shechicha upea maser sheni. One of the specific things mentioned is that you need to teach the convert the rules of agricultural tzedakah, leaving parts of the field available for the poor, which is actually very interesting because that's obviously a mitzvah that's being fulfilled very successfully in Megillat Rut. But then, ve'ein marbim alav, we don't make too much of a big deal, ve'ein medaktakim alav, and we're not too strict. Amar Rabbi Elazar, my kra'ah. How do we know this? Rabbi Elazar says, what's the pasuk? Dichtiv v'tira ki mitametzet hilalecha ita v'tichdal ledaber eleha. The pasuk says Naomi saw that Rut was coming with her, right? She couldn't convince her not to come. Amrala asir lan tchum Shabbat. So Naomi says to Rut, if you want to come be Jewish, we have this thing called tchum Shabbat. You can't leave 2,000 amot outside the city. Rut responds, Ba'asher telchi elech, wherever you go, I will go. Right? You read, wherever you go, I will go, as like an emotional, I will follow you. No, they said it's about tchum Shabbat. And the Gemara continues, every line that Rut says, emphasizing her commitment to Naomi, is taken as an acceptance of a particular halacha. So what we've seen from here is that very clearly the rabbis read Megillat Rut as a story with deep halachic roots. And the absolute proof of this is a fascinating Gemara also in the same area in Yevamot that talks about one of the main halachot of Megillat Rut, and that is the question of the conversion of a Moabite woman. Okay? The question of, can Rut even convert in? Because there's a pasuk that says that people from Moab can't convert, and this became a big deal with the question of, could David HaMelech become the king over the nation, meaning, he's descended from Rut, as we saw mentioned in the Zohar Chadash. Is it even okay that he become king? Is he even Jewish? And the Gemara, in a whole bunch of different ways in source number 11, teaches us Ammoni v'lo Ammoni, Moavi v'lo Moavid. The prohibition on people from Ammon and Moab marrying into the Jewish people, converting into the Jewish people, only applies to the males. Okay, so how does this all come together? Right? What's the point? Am I really trying to tell you that Rabbi Zera is wrong? Can't be. So what am I trying to say? The Yerushalmi, when talking about this idea that a Moavi woman can become Jewish, quotes it not as, we learned this from the pasuk, but ela al yadeha nitchadsha halacha. How did the halacha get taught? Through Rut. That Rut was the example that taught the halacha, that a person from Moab, a woman from Moab, can in fact become part of the Jewish people. And the Sfat Emet says something very interesting on this. He says, "V'zeh inyan Rut ba'atzeret." This is why we read Rut on Atzeret. Dichtiv ashrei adam oz lo bach, hirush, ikar kabbalat haTorah shemikret oz, shemikabel ha'adam divrei Torah liyu misilot b'levavo, she'yishe'er atzlo reshimot v'chakikot b'Torah. The Sfat Emet says the point of the Torah is that the Torah is supposed to make an impression on you וזהו נקרא עוז לו בך, כמו שביארנו לאל שנעשה בן תורה וכל מעשיו תורה, וכן היה בבועז. A person who learns Torah and internalizes Torah, all of their actions become Torah. וכן נראה מלשון מדרש רות שנאמר כל פעם שנתחדש ההלכה המוני ולא המוני, נראה שבכוח מעשיהם נתחדש הלכה זו. What does the Sfat Emet say? Where did the halacha of Moavi v'lo Moavi come from? It came from the actions of Ruth and Boaz, right? How do we know that Ruth was allowed to marry into the Jewish people? Because Ruth married into the Jewish people. Because of her behaviors. Because of what Boaz saw in her. That was mitchadesh the halacha. So what's Rabbi Zera saying? How do I think we should understand Rabbi Zera? He's of course correct that the whole point of the Megillah is to show the reward of people who perform chesed. And the word chesed appears in so many contexts in the Megillah to show us how important that is. But what's he saying? Is he correct that there's no halacha in the Megillah? No, of course not. We see halacha all over the Megillah. What's he saying? He's saying that the point of the halacha is the behaviors behind it, right? And how do you get to halacha? How do we learn all those halachot from Ruth and from Boaz? Because we see their behaviors, their actions of chesed. And what I think Rabbi Zera is saying is that the point of the Megillah is for you to realize that if we're going to learn halacha from people, it's going to be people whose model of action is chesed. And if we read the Megillah as one of people doing chesed for each other, it's going to become obvious that those are also going to be models for Talmud Torah. So it's something interesting to think about, sort of the virtuous cycle, right? Do you learn halacha from people who do chesed? Do you learn chesed from people who are models of Talmud Torah? I think that question is still kind of open, but it's definitely something that I'm taking with me into Chag Matan Torah. So thank you so much.